The tragic backstory of Grisha Yeager comes to a head in this incredibly tense episode of Attack on Titan. This has been a pretty freaking crazy season. Not only has it been action-packed, featured some major character deaths, but we finally started to get some pretty big answers about what's truly going on in this world, where the Titans came from, and of course learning that Eren and his comrades now have a new enemy. It's not just the Titans themselves, it's mankind itself. That's right, it looks like they're going to be going to war with the Marlians, and maybe even the entire world themselves. The world really has a problem with the Eldians. The fact that they possess some destructive power has made them sort of like a social pariah, a sort of like weird people that must be eradicated from the earth for the safety and future of mankind itself. It speaks a lot for how mankind always continues to find the worst faults in people, even when they're quite obvious as transforming into giant monsters. But again, this is another one of those episodes that gives us some real solid answers to things going on, and even the big revelation as to why Eren seems to now have the distinctive ability to control Titans, despite the fact that he doesn't seem to have any royal blood within himself. But before we actually get to that, let's sort of wrap up everything that's going on with Grisha Yeager and the relationship that he has with this man who goes by the name of Kruger. We get to learn that his first name is actually Eren Kruger, and I'm guessing this is why Eren Yeager has his name. Grisha decided to actually name him after this guy who has spent his entire life desperately trying to bring peace and stability back to the Eldians and allowing them to finally rise up to the way that they were originally. And we also get the big reveal that apparently when someone possesses one of the power of the 9 Titans, they're going to die in the span of about 13 years, which is really freaking shocking, because basically that means that Eren and Armin and even characters like Ymir and Reiner really just don't have a lot of time left. The moment is incredibly depressing, because now we know that while these characters do have the ability to potentially change the very world itself, ultimately they're not going to live very long to actually see how it's all going to play out. You can only imagine how incredibly upset the character of Mikasa is when she learns that her beloved Eren is going to die in less than 10 years, all due to the power of the Attack Titan. Going back to Grisha's backstory, we also get to learn that Kruger is the one who sort of influenced Grisha to actually return to the island of Paradis to try and find the founding Titan and to try and bring the Eldians back to the glory that they once were. He also is giving him some knowledge about the fact that he should start a family, find love again, start over, and make the world a better place with his power. Kruger knows that he's going to die soon. He's at his 13th year of using this power, and that's why he decides that Grisha is going to be the next one to actually inherit everything that he has decided to give to him. It's a super powerful moment, especially when you realize that Kruger has been living his entire life trying to desperately help out the Eldians, only to kill a lot of them and torture them in tremendously terrible ways. He's cut off the fingers of so many people, and now he finally has an opportunity to make things better, but it's still not going to erase all of the things that he's actually done in his past. It's amazing that in the span of like 3 episodes, they made me care about this character who seemingly came out of nowhere, who ultimately ended up being incredibly important to not only Grisha, but also to Eren's story as well. But let's talk about something that's really shocking. So, we get to see that Eren has all these memories inside of himself now, so he has a lot of big information about the history of the Titans, where they came from, and how it's all connected to everything in the past with Eldia and Marley. But they also have these 3 books, which is also incredibly important to the government of the Survey Corps, and they actually decide to go and tell them the truth about all of this stuff. This is when Eren has the sudden realization that the reason that he is able to use the power of the Founding Titan to control other Titans is because he came into contact with Dinah Fritz, the former wife of Grisha, and they made it clear that Dinah has the blood of the royal family within her, and when he actually made contact with her, you could see that little flicker of lightning that was going inside of his body. He was somehow able to sort of absorb that power, allowing him to control the other Titans during that big giant battle with Reiner and their entire group. And this is important information, but it's also dangerous information for the effect that it could have on a character like, say, Historia, who also happens to have this blood within her as well. If the world government, if the Survey Corps found out about this, they could do some potentially really bad things to her and maybe even try to use her in the worst way possible. This is something that Eren realizes himself, and he almost reveals all of it in a big outburst in the middle of this giant presentation with the Survey Corps, but luckily he is able to silence himself at the absolute last second. Also, it was great to finally see Historia again this season. She really has slipped very well into her role as the brand new queen of this organization. She comes across as regal and smart, and it's amazing that this little side character from the first season, who ultimately I didn't even remember, ended up becoming one of the most important characters from the entire season. It's pretty powerful stuff. But the one scene of this episode that honestly has me scratching my head the most has got to be the final scene where we get to see that Grisha is injected with the Titan serum from Eren Kruger, and as he's actually saying this, he mentions the names Mikasa and Armin, two people that need to be saved, memories that are suddenly flowing into his head. Why he's actually saying these names is a complete and utter mystery, as Armin and Mikasa aren't even born yet. But I have a feeling this all has something to do with the fact that these Titans and all of their powers and everything that's going on in this world is connected by this mysterious and unseen path, which is actually brought up in this episode. All of the 9 distinctive Titans and their powers all seem to be connected at some sort of like crossroads, and I'm not sure why this happens. It's some sort of weird supernatural element that they're adding to the series, and it doesn't look like it's going to be completely science-based. And a lot of this is, of course, tied to the history of the Eldians, Ymir Fritz, and her getting her power from the devil itself. There's still so much more mystery to this world, even though we've gotten a surprising amount of answers. But this is going to be sort of like a game changer for the rest of the series, as everyone within Paradis is about to discover that they're actually descendants of the Eldians themselves, and they're probably going to be a part of this brand new uprising of the Eldians as they go up against Marley and the rest of the world. I didn't expect that it was going to go this way, but honestly, I thought it was handled pretty damn well. So what's the rundown on this episode of Attack on Titan? This was another high-caliber episode of the series, showing that the show can do more than just deliver a lot of awesome action. It can deliver a fantastic backstory and fill a world with a lot of lore that'll get you really excited and put your butt in the seat every week to check out what's going to happen. This episode was filled with a lot of revelations, and like the rest of Attack on Titan, even though it starts to reveal things, it always brings up a lot of questions. That's what was so unique about this series, but I have to say that one of the standouts was the introduction of Eren Kruger, a very intriguing and interesting character who could have very well just been a standard side character for the series, some dickhead officer who loves to cut the fingers off of people, but he actually ended up being one of the most important characters, as his entire ideals of trying to allow the Eldians to rise up and everything has been installed in Grisha and has now been passed on to Eren. All of that stuff just works so damned well, and I really love it. But of course, one of the big surprises is the fact that Eren can apparently take the power of those with royal blood and use it for his very own. I'm not sure why this is even possible. I mean, it could do with the fact that maybe, Grisha was his father and Dinah Fritz was his wife. I'm not sure why all of this happened. Like I said, there's just so many freaking questions for the rest of the series and where it could potentially go at this point. I think Hanji Zoe made it perfectly clear when she said they have new enemies. It's actually the very world itself. I did not predict anything like this at the beginning of the show. I thought this was going to be basically just a battle against a group of giant monsters. At the beginning of the series, Attack on Titan was essentially just like kind of a post-apocalyptic zombie show, except the zombies were absolutely massive. Now, it's something completely different. It's starting to get into this like weird sort of fantasy and supernatural element in a world that I didn't even know could possibly exist here. It's no longer a post-apocalyptic show. There's a giant world out there with thriving humans who are living, dying, and fighting wars. And they all seem to have a hatred for the Eldians, which I can't wait to learn just a little bit more about. And honestly, the odds are completely stacked against Eren and all of his Eldians, the subjects of Ymir. There's a lot of eye-opening things about this episode, and again, it just makes it one of the best seasons of the entire show. I wasn't really feeling the first half of Season 3 all that much. I certainly had some favorite moments from it, but honestly it felt kind of out of place with all of the political stuff. However, I have to say that this season right here is sort of like holding it up a little bit. It's a tentpole for that season. It makes me appreciate it just a little bit more. In fact, that's one of the best things about Attack on Titan. The more you watch it, the more you actually appreciate the series. It makes going back and rewatching it that much more rewarding, as you're finally going to see things differently and in a completely different light. I don't know if the creator of the series had all the shit planned out when he was starting it, if he was just creating it as he was going on, a la George Lucas, but so far, I think it's been a pretty damn good anime experiment. And this episode right here was really solid, which is why I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Another fantastic episode and a great season of Attack on Titan. You got my thoughts on the episode? I want to get yours. Tell me what you thought about this one in the comment section below. What did you think about Grisha's backstory, the introduction of Eren Kruger? How are Eren and his friends going to stand up to their brand new enemy, the world itself? And what do you want to see from the rest of Attack on Titan? Let's discuss it in the comments section below. So thank you all for watching this review. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more anime reviews, discussions, and reactions. One of the best ways to support this channel is simply to watch these videos and like them and share them with your friends. However, if you want to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon and PayPal account. It is worth mentioning that if you donate $10 or more to my Patreon, I'll review an anime series of your choice. Remember guys, a little bit goes a long way. So thank you guys for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.